But I'm going to set this up and just talk a little bit about community. I invite everybody in the chat to talk about, or in the room, to give their 2 cents on community. And maybe I'll prompt a few questions. And then if you have questions, obviously, feel free to put those in the chat. And we have some moderators here. But I think, as we look at what the way the world's changing, I think we are in the community economy. And when we think about all the cryptocurrency, about even meme stocks and Reddit and DAOs and Discord and the metaverse, it's all about managing community and building it. These things are growing because there's sometimes a decentralized community, sometimes an organizing community. But I think we make a few mistakes when we talk about community, as sometimes we look at community as philanthropy or more of a fluffy word. But when companies or brands build community, it's not just an event that people think about all the time as like, that's a community building event. And sometimes that can be true. Event can spark community, but it's not the only thing that is a community. And when you actually build a strong community around your brand, it separates you, right? You don't have to have the best products in the world to make customers happy. A community is like a feeling of fellowship. And one of the big things, I think when I think about community a lot is, it's not really and people think about community as engagement, like let's engage the community, and that's their goal. But I think helping a real community is about helping people become who they want to be. And if you can think about all the events you've been to, it's really about helping that participant become who they want to be. And that's why I'm excited to kind of tee this up. We're going to go into a panel discussion. I first want to introduce our panelists, or have them introduce themselves. I'm going to start here with Craig. Craig, why don't you introduce yourself, what you do, and for the bank, and who you are.
So good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be part of this conversation this morning. My name is Craig Witz. I oversee all of our branch locations in our bank network. And so building a community is a key part of what we do in trying to connect with communities in which we operate.
We'll kick it over to Alfredo.
Yes, my name is Alfredo Martin, and sorry about that. I had issues with my sound earlier today. Community, certainly being here today, feel great to be able to share my experiences so far as a community engagement manager for North Shore Bank. And my gosh, I've been involved in financial services for almost 40 years now. And I see being now community engagement manager for North Shore Bank as being the link between the community, North Shore Bank, and myself.
Well, my name's Shannon. I've been with North Shore Bank a little over 6 years now. I've been up here in Shorewood for most of that time, and I've really enjoyed being a part of the community engagement program.
Excellent. Well, let's get started here. And to kick us off, I want to key up Craig with a question. I think, Craig, you're a pro in the banking and finance industry. The banking industry obviously isn't the biggest change community, but I think, what you've led the way, and not that, it's just the people that look at it as like the innovation community, but the amount of change that you've done at the bank. When people ask me all the time, like, what's a company in the city of Milwaukee doing things differently? I used to have a hard time figuring out what company I would name around community engagement, and now I have no problem just saying North Shore Bank, right? It's pretty easy to me. And I just want to kind of ask you to set this up. What made you just change the way that bankers do business and people do business to be community forward, and not community generic forward, right? Like, the mission statement, but more of like, how do we practice it? How is it part of our process?
How do we live it? Exactly right. And I mean, community has always been in our DNA. It's what we do. We're a community bank, right? And we've been involved in a lot of great organizations over the years, from the Milwaukee Zoo with the Zoo Train and Family Free Days, and Northeast Wisconsin Zoo, and Taste of Lake Country, and a million little events across all the neighborhoods in which we operate. But as the banking landscape has changed and and it's evolved, we realize more and more that what brings value to our communities and what brings value to the bank is when we can have great relationships with our customers and our neighbors, and we can get to know them on a personal level. It's beyond just, whether or not you've got your checking account or your mortgage here. It's about, how can we get to know you? How can we help you talk about your goal, your financial goals, and how can we help you achieve them? But to do that, we have to know who you are first. And so we wanted to do community better. We wanted a better opportunity to connect with real life people on a real life level on a day-to-day basis. And so we started doing that what if, and what if we could do things differently? And that led us down to a path of connecting with Jeremy and Angela and the rest of the folks at NEWaukee.
Greg, I'm curious, so people on the line that are listening in, it's not just saying it, it's a process. And what I mean by a process is Shannon and Alfredo, they have went through an extensive training around a community engagement manager process, and their titles changed, right? Like the title changed to be community first and services and other and things second. And how do we build that? And I'll just kind of ask that question again. How do you, from a banking standpoint and a company standpoint, how did you take that risk to say we're gonna go? We went through a pretty extensive training process to train people on community engagement and put people through a program and think differently. How do you take that risk to say, is this going to work, or why do this? We've been doing banking for centuries or decades. Why do we have to change it now, right?
We have been doing banking for a century, but I think that's why we've been doing banking for a century, is that North Shore Bank continues to evolve and adapt through the ages. And we've been through World War, and we've been through Great Depression, and we've been through Cold War, and through crazy interest rates in the 80s, and through dot-com bubble and burst, and through the Great Recession. And we've been here through all of it because we continue to innovate and continue to look for how can we do things differently. So it's a risk because we invested Alfredo and Shannon and the rest of our community engagement managers' time and effort and energy into a training program, and then into working with our communities and our community partners and the organizations and the businesses that are in our neighborhoods to find those opportunities to make a difference. But our goal in this, the whole idea was, how do we create a vibrant, buzzing community? And we build that common bond that Jeremy talked about, that said, hey, we're all in this together. And then through that, tie it back to our bank brand and provide ourselves with a platform to do what I talked about before, which is to get to know people and to engage with them around their financial wellness and their financial goals, and how can we make your lives better? So our goal is to make people's lives better. That's a really big goal. And so we had to take really big steps to get there.
We're going to give some examples, like really some strong examples of what was created there and why it was created. But first I want to go into the training side, because it's one thing to change a title. It's another thing to invest in people's, or in your own employees, and share this process. So I'm going to start off with Shannon here. Shannon, can you you went through you were the first cohort of community manager training at the bank. Can you share your general reflection in the program and your training experience?
Yeah, so I felt like in Shorewood, I already had a little bit of a foundation of getting to know people in the community. I felt like Shorewood was really inviting for me, letting me be a part of some of the events that were already going on throughout the community. What CEM really helped me see was, did I know who key people in our community really were? Did I see how I was able to help them and help them take things to the next level? So when you guys let me be a part of the CEM group, what I did at that time was I started seeking out who are key people in our communities. What are things that I could be helping these people or their businesses with? And it really was a challenge for me to seek that out. You guys helped us make a list of who are the people to know and who are the businesses in your community. And I really took that to heart, and it's really helped me take CEM to the next level. And I appreciate that. And I've built some really good partnerships. We've gotten some really great relationships over to the bank. It's just been great to see how we can help people and take it to the next level.
Oh, just personally, like like your personal growth going through something like this, like a different framework of how to do business, even though you were kind of, you were doing it, but now it was like more permission to do it, which I think sometimes is half the battle, is having the permission to act differently.
Yeah. And really it was more of a path for me, right? Like it gave me more direction instead of, okay, I'm just going to show up and participate at an event in Shorewood. Yes, that's impactful and helpful, but this was really taking it to the next level of building the relationship even more.
Bounce it over to Alfredo. Alfredo, you went through the first cohort of this as well. What did you take away? How did you personally grow? And, maybe tell us anything else that comes to mind around that.
As I mentioned initially, I've been in the financial services for just about 40 years now. And just like Craig mentioned before, the innovation is certainly the key word. And for us to continue finding new ways as to how we can better serve our communities. So certainly the biggest takeaway, the biggest experience that I have so far, the learning, going through the training, in being involved now with this new structure, is for me to be able to say, how can I better myself? How can I better myself to better serve my communities? How can we better find those needs that the community need to be kind of taken care of? And my gosh, we had a great event with the Southside dining week, where I found out that I thought that I knew everything as far as being able to go out there and talk to business owners and being involved with the community. But it's much more than that. It is much more than that. We need to really, really go out there, have a specific plan, be able to have a structure, be able to do things ahead of time. Plan those things in such a way that we have a very clear vision as to what the objective and the outcomes should be. So, in a nutshell, never think that you know it all, and never that certainly you need to keep growing in such a way to get connected, to be connected with the community, and more than anything else, to know what is that next thing that is going to make us different. How are we going to be able to better serve the communities that we are involved in?
I think, Alfredo, one of the things you just said was one of the really key parts, which is that, beyond just having an event because it's cool, that to have some objectives and outcomes and to talk first about why we're doing things, why we're involved, and where we can make a difference and what it'll look like. And I think that was a big part of the mental transition for you and Shannon and the other CEMs.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Since you brought it up, Alfredo, I'll just kind of double down on Southside Dining Week. I think there's sometimes when we talk about community, there's participating in community, and then there's creating community. And participation looks like there's something going on. I'm going to be a part of that. I'm going to support that. And then there's looking at market opportunity, right? Like there's a missing element of community here. There's a chance to pay something back or do something really unique. And I remember the conversations we were having before we did Southside Dining Week. And for those of you who didn't participate on the line here, Southside Dining Week was, generally most of the dining weeks you see in cities are about the downtown environment. Well, there's a whole underserved market of dining weeks on the south side of NEWaukee, and which is where North Shore Bank and where Alfredo's main territory is and branch is. And we thought, they're coming out of the pandemic here, or in some of these waves, that restaurant owners and small mom and pop shops have been devastated. What can we do to drive business back to them? And so we started thinking and building a program around Southside Dining Week and uniting a bunch of the restaurants and uniting a bunch of the business improvement districts and some of the community organizations and say, let's promote this week. And maybe talk a little bit more about that experience, Alfredo, of what some of the restaurant owners said to you, some of their feedback and how it's impacted them. And then what, community is a revolving circle, right? Like you give something, you get something back, what you got out of it.
Well, I tell you, the more that I talk to more business owners, they keep saying that it was certainly an awesome experience for them to be able to display their menus, for them to be able to get their name out there. Certainly, it made a huge difference, especially after these last 2 years of going through this terrible experience of COVID-19. And not just that, it was more of a certainly talking to them, being able to be involved, and not necessarily how is it that I can help you today, now, but how is it that we can work together in the future? What other things we can do together in such a way that we can assist with a better planning for your business? How can we get your name out there? And they were more than eager to share with us how they started their business. Certainly, they wanted to let the community know where they are, why is it that they are out there. And most of them, especially in this case, the restaurant owners, they are very proud of what they do, and they feel that they did not have any opportunities in the past to be able to share this with the rest of the community, with the rest of the city. So they certainly felt awesome being part of this project, and they are already calling, saying when it's going to be the next one. So they certainly want to let the community know what
3 a year, Alfredo. What the heck, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it kind of, well, go ahead, keep going, sorry.
No, that's okay. What I'm saying is that we're certainly ready for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Putting things together. Mm-hmm.
And again, this goes back to seeing a community need, right? And I think sometimes it's really easy for a bank to write a check to something that exists and have that be something they do every year and annually. It's another thing, which I have never seen a bank do, put a stake in the ground and create that community and build that ecosystem out and say, we're going to build Southside Dining Week, and it's going to be impactful for our city. And other people can participate, right? Like open the door to other communities and other communities and organizations participating in this from a programmatic element or any other way we can engage. But that is a difference to me. It's not just about participation, it's about creation. And as we know in Milwaukee, there's a lot of opportunity to create new community and to uplift people. So I just want to, anybody in the chat or online that is, I just kind of want to curious in the chat if you want to post, what is community to you? And that could be like in 3 words or 2 words, or maybe even 1 word or a sentence. You could post some of that in the chat and we'll maybe reflect on those in a little bit. But I'll go to the next question here and I'll kick it off with Craig. How has your understanding of building community changed through this program? And maybe what were some of your assumptions, and give us 1 takeaway. And I'll repeat that question again. How was some of your because there's 3 in there. I'll always just start with what's your understanding of building community? How's it changed?
We always knew that there was more, like you said, there's more than just writing a check. And we've had participation in community events going back forever, but had a sense that there could be more. And what's really changed is the idea that you talked about of creation. And it's not just about participation, it's about creation. And we'll continue to participate in events across our markets, but we've had an opportunity through this program to create 3 of them from the ground up. And so that's the biggest shift for me, is that move to community event creation.
And that's kind of your major takeaway. I guess you kind of answered that question in a question there. Maybe Shannon, do you want to jump in on that? Or, and how has your understanding of it changed, or some kind of major takeaway?
Yeah, so when I think about that question, I feel like building community in Shorewood, I don't feel like it's changed, that Shorewood has such a good community feel already. But what's really changed for me is my thought process around it. How can I help contribute? How can I help build partnerships for the bank? How can I be more impactful for people in this community? And that's really made me think a lot about that. I guess I really wanted to have a strong, genuine partnership that allowed for more opportunities, like I'm saying, for myself, for our customers, for the bank. I think about some things I did. We have a community room upstairs. It's kind of like a conference room. And I've opened that up to different groups in Shorewood that have asked if they could use it for meetings. It's just an extra space that was able to be used. And I've said, absolutely, come on up anytime and use it. What else? Well, one thing, since the start of CEM, I'm on a board up in Shorewood, the Business Improvement District, and they recently came to me and promoted me there. So I have another title there as well, but it was because of so much of my activities in the community. They said that they felt I was a good partner for that. So it's just kind of nice to see the partnerships all around, and CEM has really helped me with that community engagement.
I just want to go into a little bit more specific example for people online, what we mean by building community too. I think, seeing some of and this is really good, seeing some of the different comments in the chat is, everybody has a different viewpoint of what community is. And we talked a little bit about creating community or building a new community, or instead of just participating. I want to talk a little bit about the welcome parties that we're doing across markets, different markets of the bank. This is, again, looking at how you want to engage in the community. And we sat around and talked about what community is underserved, or maybe underserves where is there an opportunity to engage people and help them become who they want to be. And one of the things from a bank standpoint is new people to a city. And I often think just being from Milwaukee and in Wisconsin, if most people don't know that, it's like 61% of people that live in Milwaukee are from Milwaukee, which is a very, very high number. So if you think of like somewhere like Miami, it's like 41%. And so you think about how many people have been here forever. So what does that mean? That means people that have lived in a city forever have strong relationships. They have their social circles. They have family. And for people new coming into a city, it's very hard to penetrate that. It creates isolation. It creates disconnection. How do I fit in? Where do I belong? And maybe I leave again. And as some of the people in the line are trying to attract people to their organizations or their city, that's a big thing. So what we have launched and what we are launching is, we've done one last year, but we're launching more, is a welcome party across different markets, welcoming people that are new to the city and new as could be 5 years new. And some people you ask to in Wisconsin, like, are you from here? And they'll say no. How long have you been here? They'll be 6 years. I'm new here, and they still think new, right? And so maybe I'll start off with Craig here, because he was a part of this welcome party, the first one we did, and going forward in other markets. Is why did you decide to green light that? Where do you think that could go? What's the opportunity there?
I think it's a great question. When you think about your life journey, and you spend a lot of time in school and in college, and you kind of have a group of friends that, or at least acquaintances, that are put upon you, right? Because you're in the same classes, whatever, you're on research projects, and then you get out into your professional life and you're like, well, now where do I meet people? And when it's a city like Milwaukee, or the first welcome party that we held, which was in the city of Kenosha, and you've got a lot of people that already have their groups and their in crowd, how do you cross some of those bridges and build some of those connections? So we put together a welcome party in the city of Kenosha. It was a great event. It was on a rooftop, so we were outside, so we could enjoy dining and a beverage, and we brought in a bunch of community organizations that we thought would be a good fit for someone moving into the city, from the library to other community groups, opportunities for people to get involved. And it's an introduction to, hey, you're in Kenosha, here's what Kenosha is, and here's some things you can do, and places you can go, and people you can connect with in Kenosha. And we had some music. It was a great event. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and sometimes I forgot that I was supposed to be hosting it, and I was supposed to be being a host because I was too busy having fun.
Yeah, and hundreds of people showed up. It was, and what's the we had a bunch of different words here: collaboration, welcoming. The backbone of community is conversations, right? And how do you encourage more of them? And conversations sometimes lead to hosting events. People asking for people's opinions, like we're doing here. I like to measure community by reoccurring relationships. How many people went to the welcome party, met, and then have met again afterwards. I think that's a really strong sense of you built something special. It wasn't just, I came to this event, I left this event. It was less transactional, but more relationship driven. And that was our focus, is to get people that are new to the area. And then, so we had people there that were, I'm not going to say Kenosha lifers, but people that had been there a long time that knew the ecosystem and could help connect people. And so there was
that was one of the fun things to me, is that it wasn't just all new people who were all trying to figure it out. Is there was a mixture of some people that already knew the lay of the land, and some new people. And that's a chance for us to make impressions. It's a chance for us to talk about North Shore Bank. It's a chance for us to be welcoming and collaborating and share some behaviors together that we can have as a memory takeaway. And that's all part of that building community.
Yeah. And, to me, the goal of community as an engagement is about helping people become who they want to be. And this is what people, when they come to a new city or a new place, they want to connect. And that's about helping them do that, is where you actually see a grow. And how you do that is really, it varies, right? Let's do logistics of, like, what does a community manager day-to-day look like? I'm going to start with Alfredo here. And you don't got to go, like, I know you start at 6 p.m. and end at 9 p.m., Alfredo, because you're a workaholic, but why don't you just talk like what a typical day looks like for a community engagement manager at the bank, and some of maybe your how internally, or in some of your goals and things like that.
Like I said before, it requires a lot of planning ahead of time. Certainly, and being part of the group now, that's exactly the main thing that I have kind of adjusted my daily responsibilities. For me to be able to have a specific plan, not just for the next day or not just for the following week, but pretty much 2-3 months down the road. And why? Because of the logistics, as it was mentioned before. We have so many more activities going on with our communities. We have events that do require the advanced planning, like financial seminars. Again, I talk a little bit about the Southside Dining Week, which implies us being out there talking to members of the community that are going to be participating, talking much more directly with my marketing team partners as well, which, by the way, they have been instrumental in also being able for us to better serve our communities. The key word here is the planning process. How can I adjust now these additional activities that I'm involved with all my other daily responsibilities, and certainly relying on my teams. My teams are fully aware internally what is it that I'm going to be doing, when I'm going to be doing it, and I relied on also their assistance. So that's been for me, that's been very, very helpful for me to get the support, and certainly their involvement in activities that sometimes require my presence internally in the branch. So going back to the planning process, certainly like anything else, that's going to guarantee the success, and also it's going to guarantee that you'll be able to get involved as many people in the community in whatever project or event you're putting together. I have learned the discipline. I have learned certainly the way to be able to meet those objectives as we had planned from day one. That's my greatest takeaway.
Yeah, and I feel, and I'll go to you next, Shannon. I feel in a way that everybody in sales should go through a community engagement manager training. It just makes you reflect differently on every interaction isn't transactional, every interaction is relationships, and not expecting something out of every meeting, but how I can give something to every meeting is such a flip of the switch. And you see that impact in some of the work, what you said, Alfredo.
Their typical day involves a lot of what Alfredo talked about, which is balancing their everyday activities that they do in our branches, but also finding those times to have that connection. And it's really about finding that balance, communicating with your team so your team knows where you are when you're outside the office, because a part of their time every week is spent in meetings or coffee conversations or one-off conversations with groups or organizations or local businesses that we're looking to partner with and build those connections. When we talked about the welcome party and bringing in a bunch of outside community groups to showcase what the things to do are in Kenosha. Well, that meant that Mary and Brian and the other folks that are in that market spent some time out talking to those organizations. So there's a lot of that balance of how do you do your day job and do this on top of it, and how do we make sure that our staff in the bank are supporting you so you have the capacity to do that?
So when I started this, I think you guys know I'm a little bit of a planner, and you guys had set out some goals for yeah. You had set out some goals for us, and if I didn't follow completely my path for those goals, well, I would get kind of frustrated because that's the planner in me. But you guys have really helped me see the plans are going to change. We're going to set goals for ourselves with the community engagement, and it's going to change based off of our needs, the people that we're working with needs. So once I got that in my head, that really helped. So what does my day look like? Well, I'll schedule right into my calendar what businesses or community members I want to reach out to. It's just a part of my routine. I've started looking at who are new businesses or new key people to know in the community or that are coming to the community. I reach out to them now before they're even here or once they're first getting here, just welcoming them to Shorewood and then offering them the opportunity to come on over and meet us here at North Shore Bank and see the bank as well. I don't wait until it's an event to reach out to someone. So I think about in the summer, we participate, there's a bike race that'll happen up here. And there's only certain groups that I'll work with during that time. And I thought, why not reach out to them all year long? Because they might have some needs at the bike race, but they also have needs all year long. And can I be of help? And that's really built some good relationships as well there. We've really been able to see how we could help a couple of those businesses out. And before seeing them, I would have never reached out to them until it was summertime. I try to make a keynote of things too that I am learning from people, their family members, things that they do in their business, just to see if there's ways that we can help and grow the relationship with them as well.
I think you hit on one.
I think that's a big part of the change in mindset, which is this isn't transactional. This isn't about we're going to do this event together and we're going to walk away from each other until next year. It's about how do we build and establish a relationship long term.
So it helps brand of a business, right? Like when I think about companies that sponsor things are always looking for something very transactional out of it, but sometimes it's these conversations, these one-to-one things that Shannon just talked about that build the brand stronger than any ads will, any other marketing will. And I just want to lean into that a little bit more, Shannon. I think one of the biggest mistakes community managers make is that they think the event is the community building. And sometimes it can be, right? It's a spark, right? It's not just the event. It's all the conversations that come pre and before that are the community. And community building is tough. I'd say sometimes building a community is harder than building a startup company because you have to, everybody's opinion is taken into consideration. Everything is around that, the inclusion in that community, different opinion. We talked about what community means to people. Everybody had pretty much a different answer in some regards. So managing personality is very, very tough and difficult. And it takes a lot of work. It is the one-to-one meetings, phone calls, Zoom calls. It is communication. It's back and forth. It's the event is the moment in time, right? Community is 24 hours a day. And so I think we talk about this as being a community event sometimes, but it really is what happens next. And how do I build a stronger relationship with individually than come to my event and now you're part of it. And so I think, yeah, go ahead.
I think I was very much, what events can we help be a part of?
Mhm.
So you guys really helped challenge me to think about it differently like that. So I appreciate it because it's more impactful for those in our community that we're communicating with.
This is kind of everyone who wants to jump in first on the panel here. But I'd like to talk about stories of this whole process. So like a specific story of a community building experience that you've had. So, obviously we've talked a little bit about the journey, about the training, about some specifics in the programming, and even Shannon, you brought up your career, but anybody want to go first on a story that they had with an individual in the community and what changed during this time?
I can speak. I've trying to think how to say this. So there's a couple different businesses that I've reached out to that I feel I've really gotten to know them well. And I picked up the phone and I said, hey, we have a great working relationship together in the community. Let me ask, why aren't you banking here? What is it that North Shore Bank isn't doing that maybe we could be doing for you? And I can think of 3 different examples of having those conversations that they did end up coming over and opening the accounts. They did let me know what problems they were having in their banking world. And I showed them how we could help and how we could be impactful for them. And I think one of them, when I had the conversation, he said, I don't know why I don't bank with you. You're just right around the corner from me. And that's when he decided to make the move.
Alfredo, what about you?
I was asked this question by several community members in regards as to why are we doing it? Why is it that we are doing what we are doing the way we are doing it now? And the question surprised me. Without hesitating, I certainly told them, we have been doing this. We have been doing it in such a way that is not as formal. But now we really want to be out there. We really want to be with you and certainly work together and achieving goals and assisting you with that next project. We certainly want to be part of that. In my case, in my community, I've been very much involved in the planning process, creation, and presentation of financial seminars, and certainly there has been an involvement in the community that is very well known. The customers come back and ask me when is going to start the next series of seminars. Are we having them in person or at a different location and things like that? So I see that the community knows what North Shore Bank is doing. They see that it is coming from a very honest and genuine purpose, and that is to work very, very close with all members of our communities. And I see this involvement now as a community engagement manager as, like I said before, me being that direct link between if it is a community-based organization, if it is a business, or if it is just an individual. We are certainly creating those links, creating these events in order for us to better serve them, in order for us to see how is it that we can do it better. Not that we have been doing it, but how is it that we can do it better and to serve you better as well. So that was kind of an eye-opening for me, like I said before, when I was asked that question by especially members of the Southside Dining Week event. And that question came not just from the business owners, it came also from the participants, people that were attending. What is your objective? Why are you doing it? And to me, being involved in something like this certainly makes me very proud of being here and being part of this initiative that I believe is going to be here to stay.
And I'm going to close it out with Craig, but I want to make a comment on that, Alfredo, that you just said, what you just said. I saw, one of my personal stories is from this whole experience was day one when everyone came into the room and, was like, what are we doing here? I'm already in the community. What do you mean by this? And then that by the end of the training, every single person having a bigger commitment to their employer. And that's what I kind of saw that was changing. So it wasn't even the external community. It was like, when you think about communities, there's many different, we're talking a lot about the external community, but you build the community in your company, right? But, different opinions, varied opinions, people from all different backgrounds, and the internal community that was built around the cohort of people that went through the training is, bouncing ideas off each other, leaning on each other's back, dealing with shared struggles of building community together, I think is a very important lesson in all this that we didn't talk about totally and really drill down in. But I'll let you close this out, Craig, and maybe we can open up any questions at the end here. But how has this impacted, or give us like an example of a story from start to finish?
Oh, fantastic. And now, you see, you get my mind going, Jeremy. Now I got to put my thoughts back together. So the story I'm going to share is an opportunity to talk to one of Alfredo's contacts that he's met and worked with over the years, and who came back and took the time to say, hey, look, the reason North Shore Bank is successful in this market is because of Alfredo. And that's because it's about relationship, and it's about how do we connect people to each other? How do we connect people to their community? How do we connect people to the financial services they need? And so that was just really cool. And we just had that reinforced a couple of weeks ago. Alfredo won an award from Governor Evers for community involvement and community impact, and that was pretty cool as well. But the other part that I wanted to touch on is what you were just talking about, Jeremy, which is that internal community and the community that we've built within our branches. Alfredo and Shannon were part of the first cohort, the first group of people that went through the community engagement manager training. We've just finished a second cohort, and I know that group of people, and there's 9 or 10 of them, that they talk very regularly and they bounce ideas off of each other, and especially cohort 2 really leans on cohort 1. And I think Shannon spent as much time on the phone with her peers as she has with her community contacts. But that's okay, because we want to be a great bank for our communities. But we also want to be a great employer, and we want to offer our employees opportunities to continue to grow and develop and improve their professional lives. And so this serves that purpose as well.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. I appreciate it, and we have a great day, and let us know if we can help. Thanks everyone.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.